Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Alicia Braché here at Cosmic Gateway, and this is the May 2025 energy update and intuitive insight guidance. So please bear with me. This is take three. It's taken me three times to sit down and do this. There's a lot to unpack, and I am maneuvering myself through doing slightly a different format that at this point is a trial basis to see what sort of response I get, how it flows, how it works, and the ripple effect ultimately. So I'll get into that a little bit because that culminates with the intuitive insight guidance. So it's going to combine um, a little bit of a process and then go into the intuitive readings. So let's see how it goes. Wow, where are we? Today is officially the 5-5 gateway, and I think sometimes for my own process, a lot of things have to fall into place before I can sit down and do an energy update. And the pieces of the puzzle feel like they fell into place. Sorry about the background noise. I do have a new addition to my family, so if you do hear background noise, that is why. Um, so there was a lot that had to culminate, and it felt like it dropped in as we kind of hit just before moving into 5-5. So what I've been told is that this energy of May is a diamond gateway that we're moving into. And I feel like this has a lot of components to it. It visually represents to me the form or shape of a diamond that we're trying to walk through as a passageway or a gateway. But our body and our alignment and our energy has to be compatible with what we're stepping and moving through. And I do feel like this will be the theme that will kind of culminate right towards the end of May. So just to backtrack, and also before I go into it, I just want to thank everyone who reached out after the last mid-April update to reach out to see that I was okay, and your well wishes. I am feeling a lot better, but it is a bit of a slow healing process, and that is part of what I'm going to share because it feels like it has evolved into a much greater process that is in, encapsulating this kind of diamond frequency that I feel is not just coming through, but it is merging into our essence, into our body, into our being. So going back to the visualization of this sort of diamond gateway, we need to kind of be able to step and move through it, but we have to be compatible. So there's a lot of energy that is being disconnected, shed, dissolved, cleared through what it feels like deep within our core cellular structure, our body. Our bodies are changing. And this kind of connects to a message that I was given back in July of 2023. And I never shared it because I wasn't overly confident that it was relevant in terms of like 3-year linear process moving forward. But the message that came through was the next 3 years is going to be very intensely focused on the physical body of the personal ascension process because that is the key and final part that will ultimately, through each person's process, is what will shift and change the frequency of the planet. And when I got that message, I wasn't overly enthralled by it because I felt like I'd just come out of a 3-year process of intensely working with the physical body. Um, and the thought of having another 3 years, it was like kind of overwhelming. But I can see now as we edge towards the middle part of that, how incredibly that piece and important that piece is. So just before I had my little, health crisis back in April, the night before I went to sleep, I had a sequence of events that will kind of flesh out the story, if you will. So just before I woke up the morning that I fell ill, as I was dropping off to sleep and just going into that in between space, I had this enormous energy of elation, of celebration, of something really exciting culminating and coming in. A bit like a kid on Christmas. It was like that feeling of like something really exciting is on the horizon. And I was shown specifically at the end of May. Now, I know there's a lot of buzz and anticipation and excitement in May. I don't know what it looks like, but all I can express is what I've been shown through my own experience. Um, and as that energy kind of dropped in, I was like, I kind of came to, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, what do I have on my schedule in May that's so exciting? And I, logically went through it and I was like, there's nothing that I know about that's actually happening around that time. And then the next morning I felt ill. And I feel like the purification of this process, this physical body process, and I know that so many of you are going through this in your own way. It's connected with releasing, clearing, detoxifying. A lot has to do with physical symptoms, but it is deeply emotional and etheric. So it feels like working on the very fine layers of what may be still stored in our cells, in our emotional body, in our emotional processing, the sacral area, and also the etheric body, which is directly connected to the physical body. And it feels like it's ironing out all the kinks that are I'm trying to find the right word. There's like three or four words buzzing around in my head. The mm, whatever parts of our body aren't in full resonance with our blueprint, full resonance with our alignment, um, illnesses, sicknesses, deformities in the body, like things that are mm, genetic defects, things that just aren't natural to a conducive, healthy body as it should be in full optimization. So that feels like there's a big flushing and clearing. Now, this is not just physical, this is getting to the root cause of what has created that in the first place. So, whether that is ancestral, whether that's emotions, mental programming, however that looks, it's been held, it's releasing of that. So we may have bouts of feeling really tired and heavy, and the body's just trying to process out. We may be over emotional about things re-emerging that we haven't been able to fully comprehend or process out of our body. Excess mental stimulation, it comes in all those aspects and many, many more, I'm sure. Um, but ultimately, what this is doing is it feels like there's a finalization or a crystallization coming through in May that is grounding our blueprint, our soul's blueprint, in its most pristine condition. What that brings in on a physical level is a reattunement and refinement of the body so it can morph back into its original state, but it also brings in a deeper level of what our soul has been called here to do in this time. I talked about this in May going back last year, but it feels like it's taken almost 12 months to kind of come into play. And I was talking a lot about Soul Mission 2.0, and that feels like it's really in the forefront. It's really, really highlighted of showing up in different ways for different people depending on where they're at. I've had in the last 2 to 3 weeks some of the most inspiring individual sessions I think I've ever had. Um, the wave of what's coming through during sessions is a lot of information about people's level up, their step up, stepping into really advanced modalities and bringing them online, abilities, things that haven't yet been fully functional at play. Yet these things have been within the consciousness of the individual since the beginning of, their awakening. But it comes into physical manifestation and play starting from this month. Um, and so just in a general sense of themes, what this is showing me from a larger, more um, bird's eye view perspective is A, the changes that we're going through in our body makes us a lot more incompatible to Western medicine or mainstream medicine. So there's going to be a massive surge and uprising in different forms of integrative medicine, whether that's energetic, whether that's things like what comes to mind, kinesiology, Bowen therapy, Chinese herbal therapy, that we've got so many great different modalities, but it feels like they are all on the next leg up. So if you're a practitioner and you're feeling that jump, I feel like that's what's in full swing. And it's really what it's doing is it's adapting to the evolution of what individuals are going through right now. So we have to be at the forefront to be able to help support navigate those that are going through these changes. And I don't know how long this process will take, but to me, when I look at it, it seems as though there's that upswing in what is deemed alternative or integrative therapies and a decline on the Western medicine, just because of this jumping consciousness and evolution that we're all going through. It's like we become incompatible to these forms that have been in play. So there's a real dismantling and crumbling of old systems when it comes to just healthcare and medicine itself. And I just want to take this time to congratulate all those who are doing incredible work supporting people from those different practices and modalities. I feel very inspired by what's coming through for the individuals and where this is taking us as a collective level. Um, and so I feel like throughout the month of May, it's going to have different themes to it, but I feel like where we're starting and where we're ending is going to look like day and night, just based off that snippet that I sort of was lunged into. And I've noticed now, so there was a huge, unraveling of events that took place that I feel like April was a bit of a precursor for, and that we're going to see a lot more coming through in May. So that was like almost when I feel like we're jumping timelines. So sometimes we get a energetic impression, we have a vision, we have an experience, a temporary embodiment of it, and then we hold that frequency for a particular period of time. And then we kind of go into the deep dive of eradicating what's not in vibrational resonance to that. So fast forward around Easter, I felt like I had done one huge level of clearing and flushing out, and then my body was trying to acclimate. So there was a lot of intense heat that was running through the body, different parts like day and night. Sometimes still waking up in a pool of sweat. Sometimes it would run during the day, and it felt like it was coming from the central core of my body and then radiating out. And I find that when we go through these periods of intense heat, it's literally burning away what energetic codes, imprints, things that we've been held. Once again, it's all about the cellular structure that's trying to reformat itself or alchemize itself into the true organic version. It's not a new version. It was the version of us that was in there all along. But we just haven't had access to it because we've had so much other density and programs that have been held and locked into place that we haven't been able to fully access it. So it's hugely exciting. Um, And so it was around Easter that I kind of spent quite a few days sort of going in and out, in and out. And I had a few manta beings appear to me while I was in that sort of fairly lucid state. And anytime the mantids appear to me, I know that my body, my DNA, everything about the 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 genetics is reformatting itself. So some of the information that was coming through was this diamond gateway or the diamond body that is being formed. This is a new energetic, almost sacred geometry structure that's coming in over the body. I'm talking about the diamond shape, coming in and formatting in and around the field so that the inner transformation can come out. Um, what I was told was this has never taken place before in physicality. It is literally the merging of the non-physical state into physicality. Um, so this goes beyond what people talk about in the light body. This is feels much more of a cosmic consciousness. Another way that it was shown to me was if we talk about the fractal versions of ourselves, there'll be one particular version of us that is the most truest representation or the aspect that we work with the most. Some people it's going to look like it's angelic, some may be elemental, some may be more galactic. But it's like that aspect is trying to merge and morph into our physical body. Um, but with that, it brings all the threads and the energetic strands of the other aspects and versions of us. So it's like a full um I don't even have the words. It is a full integration of all aspects of ourselves that can be active within one body stream. Um, I hope that this is making sense. So, yeah, the intense burning off of the density that we've been held that hasn't allowed this to come online. The restructuring. So, since then, just in physical symptoms alone, I've had huge fatigue and tiredness because I know that my body is trying to process so much more than my mind can comprehend. So for about 2 weeks now, around actually around this time, in the afternoon, it's somewhere between 1 and 5. I'll just get put to sleep. It's like I can't even function. I have to go lay down and I go into the deepest sleep. It's a healing. It's like being taken into different types of healing technology and healing chambers. One, I remember waking up and it was like I was in like an oxygen tank and all the cells were being rehydrated and oxygenated through me. Um, there was others that was like cutting away, like almost if you can imagine wearing a physical bodysuit that's not like a wetsuit. So it's like a whole body being extracted, taken off different parts of my body. Some of the implants that I've had physically and energetically are dissolving. And that's been that is a really fascinating process for me. So I may have mentioned this, you may have heard me talk about this. I have a physical implant that has created a physical symptom in my body for over 20 years. And um, now I'm in the process of this body, this diamond frequency body that's coming online is no longer a compatible match for a lot of the outdated tech that we may have had that's been um, placed there to support us to get to this point. So that process in itself of that implant is literally dissolving, and my body is trying to process and clear it out, which is phenomenal. I was always told initially when this happened that I wouldn't have that defect, if you will, my entire life, that eventually it would correct itself. And now watching and witnessing that happen in real time is incredible. So the other component to that that is interlaced, and this is just an example of mine that you can maybe listen to and then look at how that may be presenting in your own experience. So, in combination with the implant itself, there is a genetic defect that runs through my maternal line. So the women on my mother's side are prone to having that condition. So part of this diamond frequency that's coming through is recorrecting or reformatting, and that came through in a dream, in and around the time of all the other things happening, where I was shown my maternal grandmother, and it was literally unhooking these deficit codes, I don't know what else to call it, from my system that was taken on from her and then passed down through. It was unhooking and unlatching all of that. And so that my body could then sit in its own bandwidth, if you will. And then I was then being rewoven into a future timeline. So it was like all that ancestral stuff that has been carried up until this point is also now outdated in the process that is coming through. Um, what else can I say about this? It's such a big process, and I don't feel like I've even scratched the surface of what is possible through it. Bits and pieces have come through in individual sessions and obviously my own experience, but it it's ongoing, and I have no, actually, I was about to say I have no sort of timeline in or time frame of how long that this will take, but I have a little indication of that came through in a dream last night. So another incredible thing that happened was while I'm getting access to all this information around this diamond body that's coming online, um, I connected in with a wonderful woman who does energetic work, who has a whole modality, which is actually called Diamond Gateways. And we had a beautiful exchange just last night, and we were able to share. And this is a body of work that has come through her over the last 9 years. And when she was sharing with me very specific details, I was like, that's exactly what's been coming through to me in my own process and sessions. And so a huge nod to her. And I won't go into it more because I don't feel like it's my place to talk about. This feels like a huge body of work that was really bestowed upon her to work with. And I find it really fascinating. So I will resume and pick up more about this conversation if you're interested or you feel like you're going through this. And I'll bring her on at some point and we can talk about this a lot more in depth. But I'm excited because I'm witnessing it in the shift in the consciousness of those who are ready to have this process come online. And what I've been shown of the possibility of once this process is complete is it restores our whole body and energetic template to its original um, true divine aspect. And we've eliminated all the baggage that we've carried intergenerationally, through soul lineage and also, traumas, programs, etc., which I find it's really interesting because 9 years ago I was downloaded the process that I use, which has evolved drastically over the years. And that's pretty, even though it wasn't this specific, it was different. I can see the interweaving of different modalities coming together and supporting one another. I have the privilege of a lot of the people that I work with are already, practitioners in their own type of modality, but there's this cross reference point that we're getting to of this sharing symbiotic, or synergy, if you will, that is, um, one supports the other as and bounces off one another to kind of lead people into that next level. And what I was shown originally when I downloaded the modality that I've been working with for many years was that the same thing. It would, you know, basically eradicate all of those things so that we could get back to it. So same concept, just coming through in different ways. And I'm sure many of you that I'm speaking to who work in the healing arts and the energetic arts have been downloaded your own version, but ultimately the outcome or the result is the same. What I've been shown in terms of this process is it's an illuminated version that comes online that can very much be seen physically. So those who are undergoing this process will start to have an iridescent, luminous glow to them, like emanating from their body, that people who may not even understand anything spiritual will notice. People will notice that emanation. And it feels like it's the true, like ascended version in human form, and the abilities and the huge potential of what the implications of this process completing itself is radicalization of the human body and the potential of what we can do as human beings, and really stepping into high level skills and abilities. So there will be so much more to unpack around this, but anything in your wildest dreams, I think that's on the cards as this process unfolds. Now, I want to talk to a theme that has come up just in the last 12 hours since I woke up, really, um, that I feel is interlinked, and I'm still kind of working out how it's all interconnected. But it feels like there is a very distinct 20-year time frame or timeline that's wrapping up. And it feels as though this whole theme of collecting fractal selves through dream state is very pronounced at the moment. I feel like every night I go into such deep dreams, and I know that I'm interfacing with it's like as we're integrating this level of embodiment coming online, our soul, our consciousness is doing so much work when we're sleeping to close and collect aspects of us that have been trapped on lower timelines of, I want to say real, like worst case scenario type apocalyptic, like really unpleasant dream space. Um, and that has been very much a theme, at least for the last couple of weeks. Um, some are wrapped around, I'm just trying to think about themes without going into specific details. Um, Poverty, yeah, very much sacral and base type themes, and that feels like that's where the concentration is right now. Clearing sexual distortion energies, gender, masculine, feminine, purifying the distorted aspects or elements or identities. Um, I had some weird dream last night about, yeah, genders, and I can't even go into it. It's fleeting now. Um, Poverty consciousness, family dynamics, um, making peace to people in our past, karmic rebalancing, and what that moves into is another really key note theme for May is I feel like we're at the precipice of such an integral jump, shift in consciousness for those who are not just ready but willing. I feel like we're hitting between now and the end of this month some really critical choice points. And so that ties into the dream that I had this morning. As I was like processing and observing how many people I see getting to these choice points of making huge life decisions, whether it's just to change a state of mind, whether it's to be able to let go of certain relationships, that have been key and pivotal in getting you to a certain point, but have kind of had an expiration date, whether it's the change up of location and living circumstances, got venturing out and being on your own, perhaps ending a job, a career, like it's going to be individual to each one. And which and watching and witnessing and observing people getting to that point of that um, key choice point and which way will they go with not having any sort of influence at all, but just observing. And I'll give you an example. Like one person that I was witnessing was I could see it was so clear. It was like there is a definitive choice point, and you're either going to go or you're going to go, this way. That night, I had a dream that that person passed away. And the same night, that person had a dream that they were enmeshed in gold frequency. So I knew that that choice point had been made. I was witnessing the dying of that old identity and timeline. And since then, there's been such a real shift in that individual. And that's just one representation. And I'm seeing it absolutely everywhere. So, one thing that I've noticed in my own processes, I've needed this time to be quite solitude and coming very internal because I know that any sort of energetic impression can impact this kind of diamond shaped cocoon that I'm in. It's almost like being an infant trying to walk and talk and operate in the world again. And that can, as a child is born and then they're imprinted by society and energies and all those sorts of things, it almost feels like the same. So moving through this passageway, being very conscientious of not absorbing things through too much social media, just having a lot of silence and solitude, being very selective in my interactions until I feel like I've solidified and can come out the other side of this process. It's a very sacred passageway. And somehow it links into this 20-year process, going back 20 years, give or take. Because this dream that I had was so significant. And it feels like the wrapping up of different parallel versions of ourselves that we haven't completely dealt with or completed. So, observing all these other people external to me, going to bed and thinking to myself, what is my choice point? What are the things that I need to level up on throughout this passageway? And a few things came to mind. Anyway, this dream basically stated it all. In the dream, I went back to school, back to high school, and I can't even convey the strangeness of this dream because I felt in the dream that it was so real that it was a part of my waking reality. And in the scenario in the dream is that I went back to school because I didn't graduate because I didn't complete one subject. Isn't that just significant in itself? Every time I feel like I have dreams about school, going back to school, it's always a leap in consciousness, a new pathway opening up, and obviously we graduate to a new level. So what I was clearly shown in this was there, and it was like I knew this scenario so well that it feels like it is a parallel existence that I'm working on cleaning and clearing up in my dream space. And I think that adds to the level of fatigue and tiredness that I think a lot of people are facing is we're so active in our dream state. And that's the only opportunity that we really get to go in and do that tidying or refinement process. So I go back and in the scenario was I completely um, avoided one entire subject. I never went to the one class. I knew that I just based on that alone, I would fail um, for attendance. It was halfway through the year, and I realized that I had to go back. to look at and address the thing that I haven't. And I think it was a graphic arts, yeah, graphic arts or studio arts or something. It was an arts subject. So I went back, found the classroom, went back into the classroom, spoke to the teacher. The teacher didn't make a fuss at all, basically just said, here you go. Here's all the assessments that you have to comply to complete this. And if you can get it done, get this. If you can get this done in 11 weeks, you'll pass and you'll graduate. So that answered two things to me. A, I think the thing that I was kind of ruminating on of what I need to do is a lot more around creative expression. And that's the one thing I have had like this resistance to. And the second thing was I wanted to know what sort of a time frame we're in right now of this integration of the diamond, the cosmic self coming into the physical body. And I had a feeling it would culminate sometime around or before the Lionsgate. So when I looked through, check my diary, yeah, we're around the later half of July. So it kind of answered two very, very, very important questions that I had while I was going to sleep last night. So I know that that's a pretty long-winded story and I might be jumping around, but it was so significant in the representation of this like 20-year period or give or take. Um, it's connected to that was the time the implant came in. So it's like it's wrapping up this period. And it feels like we've had, I don't know, I can't formulate it enough, but it feels like we've closed this 20-year ascension window period that has been the training wheels and preparation to get us to where we truly need to be. And a lot of it has been through really intense challenges and a lot of hardship, but it feels like we're moving into a totally different space. If we are consciously working through this gateway or portal way, um, to look at the things that we haven't wanted to look at or address and being really conscious and really honest with ourselves and making those shifts and changes because it feels like such a critical choice point that we're at. And I feel like for those who it's not just about making the internal choice, it's about the guided action that comes with it. Jumping through this, I think, is going to really set the tone for the new space that we're walking in as we move beyond May of 2025. Um, okay, which leads into the way that I want to change the intuitive insights. Um, what else can I share? Okay, so yeah, I've talked about the 20-year time frame, but I also feel there are threads to unraveling inorganic timelines. One being what I've spoken about since the beginning of the year, the COVID timeline and the last 5 years. So whatever choice points you were at, I think around the first part of 2020, we're being given the opportunity to reevaluate. And it's like we either stay on the same path and trajectory and there's just slow stagnation, or we make the choice points that we know us. It's not about anyone else. It's about what our soul and our higher self is asking us to do. And it really talks about getting on point, clear, concise. What am I here? Why am I here? What is my soul purpose? And how can I actualize that in in everyday ways? Um, like it feels like there's such a loud, booming voice of either getting people on their path who've been really resistant to it or taking people to the next level. Um, such a loud, booming, like now or never type thing. Dog snoring away in the background. What a dog's life. I haven't introduced him formally, but he's a beautiful boy who came into my care 6 months ago now, who's been a marvelous companion and transition dog and has beautiful aspects and elements of Luna and Ari. He's kind of like the merge and integration of the two. Um, and yeah, he's been a wonderful companion, but he's quite vocal and loud and snores very loudly. So if you hear that in the background, that's what's happening. Um, so I feel like as we get to the end of May, that whole COVID timeline, which was just another layer of distorted timeline, inorganic, is being fully kind of erased and eradicated. And it's through our choices and decisions that it lives through the collective field. I remember doing a series of sessions around that time, somewhere between February and May of 2020. And that had huge impact and influence on divine partners and connections. And I just remember seeing through a series of sessions that some people made the choice to stay on that timeline and others kind of almost descended or chose a totally different timeline that was quite a lot more corrupted, or there was less visibility in seeing the interference or the corruption. But it was all necessary and part of it. There was no judgment, but it was literally, one level, and the other one could look down, but the other one couldn't see up. It was completely blocking them from their higher consciousness and higher intelligence. And I feel like we're at a tipping point now where those who want to kind of take that leap out of that are being given that opportunity. And I feel like the next part or the crucial part that's coming in is so much emphasis around connection and partnership to bring forth like these new radical ways and modalities. These feels like it's so intrinsically connected in the activation around frequency matches and partnership. However, that presents for some people, it will be romantic, for others, not necessarily. But it is about the path and the mission and what the two have chosen to come in to alignment to do together. Yeah, did you bang? There's like a knock on the window as I said that. That feels so pressing and so prevalent and so important. Bang, as I said that again. Um, that we're really, we're at some really critical junction points right now, and more of that can come together and harmoniously balance within the masculine and feminine energetics of it all, and start to bring through these frequencies and work together is just going to create magic on earth. There's no other way to put it but just magic, magic, magic. um okay, I'm just going through my notes to make sure that I've covered everything. Okay. Another aspect that feels like it's happening a lot is a lot of us are working within the energetic grids and the ley lines and doing two processes simultaneously. One is like almost ripping out some of the fabric of the inverted energetic matrix. And then we're infusing it with new frequencies, and that's happening through us, through our body, through our process. But in dream space, I could see the magnetics of um the atmosphere that was in flux and moving. There were so many of us going through um by the dream state or through energetic means, whether that be by location consciously or yeah, through our dream state. um Working with trying to restabilize as this kind of magnetic shift is happening in the atmosphere. And this is due to the pulling out of these distorted timelines, which is so exciting within itself. Um, there's a lot of light blue frequency coming in, almost like pre-flash energy that I was talking about a couple of years ago. It feels like we've reconnected onto that optimum timeline, or we're jumping in. It's bumpy ride. It's not like a streamline link in, but it's coming back through again. So a lot of blue coding energy, like rain coming through, and it's like it's really quite illuminating in itself. Oh my God, there's so much more that I could go into, but I think that's a lot for now. Oh, so many people have come and asked me about this spider story that I didn't share that said that I mentioned that it would scare the shit out of a lot of people. Um, and I think maybe just putting voice to this and bringing a bit of humor to it. I mean, it was kind of terrifying. Um, but it feels like the cleanup of the spider energy is not at its full capacity yet. I've still had a few mornings where I've woken up and the energetic resonance of the spider energy. But I know that when that comes in, we're on the periphery of a really big jump. Um, so it's been so much easier to clear than what it was back in March. So if we look at this succession of what's been happening based through March, the eclipse portal, and through, we went through so much untangling and dismantling and unraveling and unplugging from false timelines and matrix systems. Then we sort of came into this incubation of the physical integration. Now we're at the next level of this kind of diamond frequency coming in. Now, for those that are preparing to bring through a lot of the diamond children or the new earth children, what I was told specifically is those that are to bring through those children can't do that until the diamond body has been stabilized, because their physical body is incompatible to the frequency of what these cosmic children require coming through. So it's, yeah, there's so much there's so much implication of what this process and the diamond energetics of the body brings about, not just to the individual, but the ripple effect as well. So going back to the spider, so I've had a lot of, obviously, I've talked a lot about the energetic leave through of the spider beings, but this happened around 18 months ago, give or take, um, where there was a lot of interference impacting my life in many, many different ways. But I woke up in the middle of the night. I think I was laying on the couch. It was while Ari was still here, but he was quite ill. And I think I slept on the couch predominantly for like 6 months, just nursing him. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I had never really believed in these robotic spiders. From an energetic standpoint, yes, spider bots totally exist. Um, and they are part AI, part spider being, and they infiltrate people. They're a really they're quite a nefarious energy. They distort and manipulate mind. So they create an artificial web that can cast doubt not only on the individual but those that they are connected with. Um, they just perpetuate artificial layers of timelines and distortion, and basically entrap. There's a huge level of energetic entrapment that comes with them. But this was so 3 o'clock in the morning at my house. I'd heard about these AI spiders. Now I'm talking physical, you know. Um, Never seen one, never come across one. All of a sudden, all the electronic appliances in my kitchen just go ballistic. There's just so much noise. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? So I walk over to my kitchen and turn the light on, and there is this physical spider that was not fully organic. It had AI tech in it. It had red eyes. It looked at me, and as soon as it looked at me, it lunged and started running towards me. Now, I'm talking a spider this size, not little, um, that had, it was yeah, it was triggering all the electronics. There was some um and I just took one look at it and was like, oh my God. And I had to think really quickly because it was lunging for me. It was running at me. Now, in the lead up to this, my mum, my housemate at the time had both had run-ins with these, but I hadn't seen it for myself. So, I mean, I believed it, but like they were both like, no, this thing lunged at me, like it ran at me. So anyway, one appears in my house. It's running through it. So I grabbed the laundry basket and I threw it at it and I well killed it, but it wasn't organic. It was clearly had tech in it. But here I am it was like a move um like a wrestler. Like I grabbed the laundry basket and slammed it down multiple times to make sure. And then as soon as it dismantled, all the electronic appliances calmed down in the kitchen. So anyway, that's just a physical representation of some of my crazy spider stories that have manifested in the physical, not just etheric. So I thought I'd share that with you. I hope I haven't freaked anyone out, but you've got to see the humor in it. Often when we have these energetic beings and experiences through bleed through, it can manifest in our physical life. Um, so, but once again, I think, if you're interfacing with that level of spider beings, you're kind of at the point of jumping through. And like any initiation, it's so important to dismantle the fear and see it for what it is and work through the fear threshold, and see every incident that we go through as growing in our own sovereignty, our power, our personal power, our strength, and overcoming our fears. So there we go. um, Massive May, it feels like. And I would love to hear from you in the comment section what your impressions are of May, if you have that huge anticipation, if you're going through like a physical restructuring, um, and the dream space and all that. I'd love to hear from you in terms of what your impressions are. So we're going to go into the intuitive insight guidance. As I mentioned, there's been a real emphasis for this month to be really about not just um, processing information, but actual embodiment and experiential practice and process to put into place. It's, that guided action that is needed to create the momentum that we need to get to our desired or achieved results. And so pondering on that and wondering how I can change things up that would um, accelerate or support people through the month of May in these choice points to be able to remove and clear whatever's been blocking or in their blind spots and not being able to move beyond, as well as providing intuitive information. So what I've done is, as always, I've created three um, pieces of art, but very consciously that they're encoded with a lot of um, sacred geometry and imprints and information. So, what I'm going to do is guide through an individual process for each one at the beginning. And I would love you to really take in the couple of minutes that I guide through where that's going, how that can shift or create a space of energetic change within you to kind of push you through. Feel free to come back to that process as many times as you need to throughout May if you need that guided application. If you want to take that process and morph it into your own, I always encourage that too. So take your time now to, to carefully select and choose which of these three images, what is, so we've got, hang on, let me get them in correct order. A, B, and C. And I'll see if I can get that up on the screen so that you can take your time and tune into which one is really speaking and calling to you for the month of May. And then we'll get into it in just a moment. Okay, and away we go. So, working with this, if you've chosen or selected A, we're just going to go through this energetic process right now. So, if you can just get into a relaxed and comfortable position, stop whatever you're doing, and if it feels good for you to really take in the imagery represented in this piece of artwork. And what I'm getting is that this is really about a removal of energetic imprints, technology, misplaced energy, discord energy, and programs in and around the head that is limiting the capacity to be able to get or connect into the heart. So what I want you to do is just to allow yourself to take a couple of deep breaths, allowing your shoulders to drop, and through the breath, allowing your body to relax, release the tension and stress buildup, and anything that has been placed or implanted within your psyche or within your consciousness that has created confusion, distortion, limitation, a skewed perception of yourself, your world, and your reality. And just to allow yourself to absorb the frequencies coming through that help facilitate dissolving and releasing what is being placed in and around the head, the forehead, third eye, and allowing almost like a whoosh of energy to open back up and to connect with the higher mind, releasing almost like fragments or debris that have closed in, feeling the disconnection and unplugging or unraveling happening now. Clearing away layers of confusion, and really coming back to the true self and the true mind. Just allowing that process to continue to unravel. Releasing anything known or unknown from your environment, energies, people, places, influences. And as that process unravels, there's almost an etheric imprint of the most refined version of yourself that's coming and presenting and stepping forward. This is a time or point in your life where you felt incredibly confident, self assured, knowing of your path and who you truly are. and allowing that expression to move forward in its place. As you can feel and sense that starting to move and come into the forefront into its true and correct position and alignment, there is an energy stream that moves from that place and drops down into the center of the heart, being able to connect into the soul's intelligence, giving yourself the space now to breathe directly into the heart, realigning that coherence. Bringing on or bringing back the reassured version of self, knowing, trusting, embracing, focused, clarity, and allowing that to come on more and more each day, supporting you to make good adjustments, changes, conscious decisions that are soul led. Now, just taking a couple of deep breaths and slowly and gently starting to come back. Okay. Pop that back up there, and I would love to hear any feedback of what might have taken place for you in that experience. Okay, so just I'm gonna tune into this group and the energies of intuitive guidance that supports that process. Straight away, I can feel this almost like a dopamine hit, but there's like layers of shrapnel or I want to use the word illusion that's just fading away, especially in and around the hips. Feels like there's a lot of tension or build up in and around the hips, stagnation in the movement forward that's just starting to subside. Oh, subside right now. There's been such a level of rigidity, and it could manifest itself in like physical rigidity in terms of movement, not being able to be as flexible physically or metaphorically. And it's just freeing up a lot of space that has had the words I want to use is excess calcification. I'm literally seeing like the bone structure and like calcification being cleared out, moved out of the body. But, this could be taken literally or metaphorically or both. But ultimately, it's about reclaiming that fluid flow movement to be able to move towards the destiny and reclaim that. It feels like that has been a sense of loss or longing, disconnect, unsure, almost frail in movements, or like a sense of being really timid and not claiming what is rightfully yours, or being able to make bold, assertive movements forward from that vantage point. almost being like boxed in or caged, being boxed in or caged due to circumstances and not being able to move freely. Mm. Yeah. And it's almost like a invisible cloak or cage that has been in and around that hasn't even been fully noticed or acknowledged or seen for what it is. And it feels like that is being released to come into a deeper level of understanding of what has been and just releasing the restrictions that have been almost imposed upon you for a lengthy period of time. And it feels like coming back into rightful ownership of claiming your presence, your power, your tenacity. Oh, yeah. Which is going to be very much required. And it feels like there's some bold and brave moves that need to be taken by you. But it was like almost the inability to do so because of what has been unseen, placed in and around. Something about a child or a small child that's connected to you or a significant other. I just get this impression of a young child, and it could be the inner child and an integration or a healing of reclaiming the childhood innocence within you. It's like maybe that part's been missing for a really, really long time. Because I see this wounded child who is scared and confused and frightened. And then there's that energetic framework that's being created as boundaries, but not healthy boundaries, like blocking boundaries that have, yeah, limited this creative expression that wants to be deeply expressed or has a deep desire within you to kind of come out more fully. And it feels like there's a stripping back, coming back to a baseline level of that childhood innocence factor. And it feels like that's something that you have lost and have been looking for, perhaps not even knowing that it's been missing. Like that's the key factor of like reclaiming yourself and moving forward. And it feels like that's sort of really culminating this month in a big, loud, bold way. It feels like bold movement, action. Yeah. Mm. So let's have a look at some of the cards that have flipped out. So we've got the Eight of Wands, which is about making swift decisions, making those. But that to me is like almost flying over obstacles or pathways that have been put in there to almost intentionally create that barrier to then give you the opportunity to rise above. And it's like that's been now broken down so you can see the bigger picture. Almost like I was talking about in the energy update, it's like you're up leveling to that next timeline where you can look back or look down and see things for how they really were rather than in the illusion of how it was presented. And this key critical component of that innocent child is key to that. So whether that's your own inner child or a child that is connected to you in some way, it's like they spark or initiate the process for you to reclaim that version back of yourself. It's like a key soul fragment that needs to be reclaimed and come back. And it feels like coming back into the center of the heart. because that has been significantly diminished throughout life. I almost want to say that there's been opposing forces throughout your life that have kept you separated from that. And you may have had glimmers at times or periods or phases where you felt in that true alignment, but it hasn't lasted. It's been temporary. It's been frustrating to say the least. But it's like the cosmic child wants to reacquaint itself with you in some form of capacity. That could look different for different people. But they're, oh, wow. Sorry, that was really trippy. That card just completely moved. Not the actual card itself, the image on the card completely moved. So that may indicate like a removal of perceptions or layers of illusion in your own vision. You might start to see things that you may deem as hallucinations or it feels like as I'm tuning into that energy, it feels as though walking into a world that feels like a bit of a psychedelic trip. Everything feels like it's high definition color. And it feels to me like it's reclaiming the healer or the shaman, the wise one. There feels like there's threads of a real, what I would call like a cosmic shaman lineage within you, calling upon that to help you. So it's like a sequence or a chain of events that happens. There's like this child, the cosmic child innocence that then brings on the adult version of you. How, sorry, this is really quite trippy because it's like that child never had the opportunity to grow into the wise one, but it feels like now there's a rite of passage for you to reclaim both and embody that and bring that on, which I think is going to have huge implications in your tangible physical life. It may, require an adjustment or a career change, or at least navigating towards that. Um, but it feels like it uproots a lot of things in your life that have kept you in that particular space because it's like there's a calling that wants you to completely move beyond that. We have the Fool, which is very appropriate for that. So, taking those chances, the spontaneity, the leap into the unknown, not knowing exactly where you're going to land, but it's like an undeniable calling that you just can't deny, you can't push away, um you can't give up this opportunity that is presenting because it's walking away from the Five of Swords, which is the challenge, the obstacles, the problems, the frustration, the um, disconnection, and it's giving you this opportunity to walk away from releasing the past. Past to present has been problematic in many ways. And it's almost like giving you the opportunity to hand it over and to give it up. It almost feels like a cosmic, I keep going back to this word cosmic experience. It feels as though I'm almost out of my body, having like a an out of body experience or a near death experience. I don't think there's any immediate danger to it, but it's like having it could just happen in meditation or by a sleep state, but it feels like literally being taken up and out of your body and being shown a much wider vantage point or like being able to see a timeline review of your life and possibilities. It's almost like you get a glimpse into, okay, these are the decision points that you can make. You can stay here, you can go this way. This is how it's going to result and end up. And it's by you being given this powerful information really helps you to affirm deep down inside what you know the choices that you want to make. So on the flip side of that, we have the Ace and the Two of Cups, which open up a whole new level of love frequency or a new bandwidth of love energy coming in, starting in a new cycle of potentially partnership and relationship. I want to feel into that a bit more. Feels like soul partnership, frequency aligned. But it's like you have to get into the coherence of that energy to remember your brilliance and to know that you are much more powerful than you've ever allowed yourself to be. Trust the call. And so there's so much depth in that. There's what looks like a man, or it could be a woman, but looks like a man to me, looking out, sitting, going to some special place in nature, by the sea, the ocean, um, wherever you can connect in with the soul calling. And it's sitting there and allowing yourself to come into communion with that and listening to the signs and the sounds of nature really speaking to you to hear that come through. So then we have this waterfall and the number 12 there. You're much more powerful than you know. And that feels to me like a shift and a change within the stomach and the solar plexus, just with all that gold and yellow. And that feels like it's part of that reclaiming of the innocence of the child who was very self-assured and very confident, or that aspect of you coming back online. And this feels like the cosmic expansion, number 30. And we've got the peacock, which of course I love. You are brilliant. Peacock to me is the full ascended being and stepping into that pathway or trajectory, that version of yourself. It feels like a whole new way of perceiving not just yourself but life in general. It feels so refreshing, liberating, joyful, but it's natural because it's the natural version of you, the true you, coming on and coming through and coming online. And there feels like a real, like, I feel like there's an air of uh, elation or celebration that comes through from above with that. It feels like there's a lot. Oh, I almost want to say that there's a lot riding on it, but it feels like there's a lot at stake or a lot that is unseen by you at this point in time, supporting you to move through this passageway. Because I honestly feel like you won't know yourself once you get out the other side. It's like a radical reconciliation of self. Mm. We have three more cards here. And we have beneath the surface, what's really driving you, true motives and breaking free. So this feels like the contemplation phase of going within and I guess getting those answers of understanding what has held you back. What are some of the motives that have got you into this place and time right now in this space? And then reevaluating from there. It's like um a reevaluation of your motives, your core values. It almost feels like a process of a reversal in the sense of like being taken to the end of your life and evaluating the most critical parts of why you came here. And these may be things that you've already accomplished or things that you haven't accomplished yet, but it's like being given a look into the insight around that and then being able to reevaluate and make the changes and adjustments that are required right now so that you can get to that point and know that you've accomplished and completed everything that you have set out to do. Followed by that, we have the birth mysteries. So, what are you being called to create? And this feels like a part of like a rebirthing of yourself or reconnection to, as I said, that cosmic child. That could be a child that wants to come through you or through a partnership. It's going to look different for different people, but it's like maybe it's at that critical point and time for you of like, don't I want to have children? And then making adjustments and changes in that way. And maybe working with children, or it could just be feeling into that creative space of the sacral and really asking the body, what is it that I want to create within my life? And what are some of the mysteries that have been hidden that I can tap into and access and then start this process of creation? Because then the final card moves into making waves. So momentum is building. It's your time, moving into a time of achievement, success. I almost want to say elation or illumination, expansion. I really have the sense with this card, like the world is your oyster, like moving into that realm of infinite possibilities can await you or are waiting for you to make that plunge, to take that leap and really claim your destiny in your space. So I'll leave it there. I hope that that has helped you in some way get more clarification on where you're at. Of course, if you'd like to connect with me, all the details will be in the description box below. And if not, I will see you next time. All right. So let's move into the next. Give me a second. Let's move into number B. So if you've chosen and selected this particular image here, we're just going to start off as we did with A and go into a bit of a process or a technique. So what I'd like you to do now is just stop whatever you're doing and just take this time right now just to come in and really observe your breath in your body, taking in a couple of deep breaths and utilizing the image that is being presented on the screen to help facilitate this process of physical body transformation. So some deep inhale and exhales just to allow excess energy to release from the body. I almost feel like if you feel inclined to stretch or move your body in a particular way, it feels like a big portion of this is to help release trapped energy or emotions that may be stored in the joints or particular parts of the body. This could be in organs too, but this image really feels like it is to support healing and transformation on a physical level. So whatever part of the body that feels like it's not in optimization right now, maybe a little bit sluggish, allowing this image or a version of your own now to really come into the forefront, and almost as though as you take deep breaths, breathing in restorative energy into the part of the body that needs it the most right now. You pinpoint into a particular point in your body and allow the breath to be the co-facilitator along with the image or different colors that may stream through that are unique to you. Bringing through a lightness and an elevation and frequency to attune into its rightful place and correct coherence. Maybe dissolving something that is in balance, or sorry, out of balance, bringing it back into balance. Maybe physical pain. Maybe just a buildup of energy that you haven't been able to fully release. But really focusing on that point right now with the breath and the supportive energies to facilitate this healing on a physical level. You may find yourself really doing deep breaths to expel the excess energy and build up through the out breath. And giving yourself the opportunity to speak to the body's intelligence, opening up a clear dialogue between that part of the body and asking it what is it that it needs in support of facilitation, full alignment and healing and restoration. Focusing, allowing yourself to receive whatever wants to come through, knowing that that's specific and vitally important to you. Now, just knowing that you can come back to this space at any time, slowly and gently, starting to come back via your breathing back into the body, back into the here and now. So once again, I'd love to hear any experiences that you have in the comment section below, going through these small processes, but hopefully very powerful in facilitation of your own process and what you need right now. So let's have a look and see what we can accompany with the intuitive insights for this time right now. The first word that comes through really strongly is like a shattering or a clearing. And I just see an image of like mirrors or windows or something of that. Yeah, shattering realities, false realities, illusion, delusion. All is not as it seems. There's so much more to be revealed to you. That's going to get you out of the Six of Swords. This feels like a quite an isolated energy, very going within. And what I call like scratching or grasping on a concept. You can see that that person's kind of sitting, meditating, holding that bunch of flowers. But we have the swords. So it's cautious, it's steady, it is, yeah, I go back to that phrase like scratching on a concept or trying to pull through information that is pivotal to you that hasn't yet fully been accessed or revealed, but it's coming through in waves. And I almost feel like it's almost there. And once it kind of the dam breaks, there's a lot of information with encoded energy that comes through directly designed for you, but it looks like a map, a soul blueprint map to me. So maybe it could be around, physical healing and transformation of the body, but I don't feel like that's applicable to everyone who's watching. This could be very much like trying to get very clear on your path, your purpose. But it feels like, yeah, once again, we've got the Tower card. So discovery, change, and adjustments. There is adjustments that are required that need to come through. That is like the pre-context for what you've been asking for. It's like the path needs to be cleared. So there's a big breaking down. Yeah, there's a lot that's crumbling in and around. Not you. It's outside of you. It's in and around you. Because I almost want to say you are relatively unscathed or unfazed by the crumbling or the chaos, or it's like you had a premonition, you were precognitive to what was about to transpire or unravel, unfold. So it doesn't come as a shock to you. And you know that that's a part of the dismantling that has to take place. It's almost like you're watching world events, or it could be more local to you. But it's like, yeah, you're just sitting there watching as you're also receiving. It's like happens simultaneously. I had a flash of Superman in a cave, rising to the occasion. It might be connected to bringing some of your own superpowers online. What am I seeing here? It's like it's almost like you knew this as a child, or you knew this, that you had certain skills or abilities, or it's like playing with these new gifts and abilities, like levels of I'm giving just getting examples, like playing with invisibility cloaking and like going out into public places and like putting your invisible cloak on and just like being really like there's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of playfulness in like trying out this new level of abilities. It's like it almost feels like everything out and the outside view is quite chaotic, but internally you're quite calm because you're coming into a new sense of self and power, empowerment. But it has a lot to do with abilities. And it's like there may be certain keys in there in relation to what you thought you could do as a child, like become invisible, just as an example. But it's like those memories are being restored back to you, giving you certain impressions. And it's like there's a playfulness, there's a humor to it of like wanting to go and test and try it out. And I say this with like, be safe, don't go flying off buildings or anything like that. But I think you understand what I'm saying. It's like putting these new superpowers into practice and playing around with them and being kind of amazed but not amazed in what you have the capabilities of doing. Sorry, just had a card. Hmm. Interesting because we have two cards here, Six of Cups, and which is the reflections card, emotionally reflecting, and we have the nostalgia and reflection and tradition card. So yeah, going back and looking back into the past to get key and vital information that's going to help you move forward. And may for some even be connecting with what would be a seemingly thought of as an invisible friend, but that was just like a guide coming back in and around you. Because it definitely feels like playing with the non-physical, physical world in many ways. And the understanding the malleable fabric of reality and how it's not so solid. And yeah, it just has this ring to it about like the the power of the human potential, the superpowers that you hold or possess, like really wanting to come online and come alive for you. And just, yeah, perhaps in infancy stages, but yeah, okay. So we've got the Three of Coins and using them in purposeful action. So it's like not just playing around with them as a like a circus act, but actually then carefully considering how you can utilize this and implement that into your life to be in service in some ways. And it may be integrating that into what you already do. Color, color feels really important. Some reason I've just really become drawn to just acutely aware of the colors of my surrounding and environment. And so what that brings to mind for me is I believe that our soul signature has very specific colors that are guiding posts to who and what we are and what we're here to bring. And I'll give you an example of this. There is a therapy, and I can't remember the name of it. My apologies. If you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comment section. But there is a type of therapy that is used to read people's energy imprint based on like little vials of color. And so what you're asked to do in the initial part of the session, I had one of these like 20 years ago, is to go and pick up, like, let's say, as an example, I can't remember specifics, but 12 vials of different colors that talk to you and communicate to you. And then you put them on the table, and then the practitioner starts to read from that. And surprise, surprise, all mine were like, you know, um, different shades of blue and green and teal and aqua and turquoise. I think there was one yellow, but the rest of them were all in that color, very uniform. And that was, just talking about how that is my soul, my energy essence color, and how it's a combination of the green and blue, which talks about the healer and the communicator, and the merging of the two, and so the best types of um, professions for people with that energy imprint would be, counselors or healers, or, people, you know, intuits. So giving you guide points and markers, and that's pretty much how I do a lot of my intuitive reading in personal sessions, is based off people's colors as they present. It can change from time to time, but I think we have baseline colors. So it's like maybe that's a pondering of yours, of looking at the colors that you're really feeling that you're orienting to, or becoming really pronounced as a guide in some way. Because I'm not distracted, but I feel like I'm taking in a lot from my environment, and I'm sitting in this energy. So it feels like perhaps observing this chaos that's breaking out, or whatever's happening in your world, your sphere, is giving you a lot of clues and guidance of feedback information to some of the bigger questions or intentions that you've been putting out there. And so using the world at large as a feedback loop, that's going to give you very clear, concise information. I feel like potentially looking at different ways of divination as well. So because I just see a whole different plethora of divination tools, pendulums, divining rods, crystals, like equipping yourself with lots of tools, because I feel like the analytical mind within you can still be quite strong. And even though deep within you, it's like practicing or working with different types of divination tools, or creating your own even, is just going to help provide uh, a mental feedback that's going to help validate as you move through this phase. So we have eight of coins, the talents and skills. So it really feels like you're coming into your own and understanding the unique way that you do things. Just, yeah, I get this sense of just taking in so much that's going on, but utilizing that in a really good way. It's not overwhelming, it's almost intriguing. It's almost like you have a new found sense of viewing things or interpreting things. It gives you a really It's like a release of the judgment and the critical mindset and being able to see the humor in things again, giving you a renewed sense of purpose and lightening up. That feels like important. It's like really lightening up within yourself, less harsh, less judgmental, less critical, fresh perspective. Mm. Okay, cool. And so it may be very much that right now the phase that you're in is like you've set your intentions. There's a lot that's restructuring, recalibrating in the external reality, but in there's quite a sense of settled and peace. So we've got number two, the unraveling, and 34, the magic of nothing. So you may, yeah, I've got those two there. But that's what it feels like within yourself, there's all this kind of magical energy that's non-tangible in some regards. There's a whole new world that's opening up and coming online through the emptying out and the unraveling. So it's like the two are trying to catch up in many ways. You'll reemerge from this in a new trajectory, it feels like. Um, yeah, I just wish I had better ways to just describe this. Like what's happening within the inner world after it's almost like, yeah, you've set intentions. And so the universe is reorchestrating things around you. So there's this moment of pause, but you within yourself feel quite good and quite solid. And finding the humor in the reorchestration of it all. Not, it doesn't feel like there's any sadness or grief. It's like I knew that this day was coming. I knew that this was gonna, maybe didn't know the specific details, but I'm not shocked by like the tower or what's unraveling around me. I'm not directly impacted. Sorry, no, let me rephrase that. I'm not emotionally impact. Like, yes, there are physical changes that impact me, but I don't feel unscathed by it because I know ultimately this is a positive and a good thing. Do you have anything else wants to come through? No, I don't feel like they're for this reading. Let's go to the other deck. Your family has bit to do with this a little bit. Might be impacting your family. Okay. So we have the gentle force, consistency, persistence, patience, the long game. So it's like whatever you put in motion at this point is for long-term benefit, and you're aware of that, and you have that agility or the ability to kind of see it through. There's not, yeah, there's patience there. Interesting. We have the water oracle and we have the king tide. So we have psychic abilities, acting on visions, it's destined, plenty, prosperity, and receiving the fullness of life. This feels like when we're talking about the long-term gain, that's kind of like the overall arching intentions of where or what you're pulling in is stability in the physical world, of pulling in the abundance. And it just feels like, yeah, this stability. Um, but it's the combination of being able to work with the energetics and working with the ethereal, the visions, putting it into action. And it feels like the process that you're in feels like a bit of a 6 month time frame turnaround in completion to whatever you're kind of putting out there right now and how having it come into fruition in like full turnaround. Um, so there's a lot of different components, but it feels, I guess I just want to say it feels like it's quite on point. It feels like it just feels like an overall sense of smiling. I just, that's the impression that I get. Someone like having the assured knowing that everything is playing out exactly as it should. So I hope that that helps. If you would like to connect with me, all the details will be in the description box below. And if not, I will see you in the next video. All right, let me just pack this up here until we go into the lucky love. Let me just take a moment now. So this is Lucky Last C if you've chosen this one here. This one talks about propelled movement, lifting you up. So just taking a moment now and giving yourself the opportunity just to breathe, connect in with the flow of your breath, and via the breath, allowing you to let go of any tension, stress, or excess energies. And it's almost like allowing a cascade of water, of energy flow, just to flow down over the top of you, releasing energetic imprints, influences, or energies that don't belong to you. So just allowing yourself to really be in the stream and the flow of that purification energy, giving the opportunity to dissolve or dismantle any sort of energetic cords that may be hooked in or attached, and allowing that gentle stream or flow of energy to be able to disconnect it, unravel, dissolving external energy influences out of your field, things that you may be aware of or not aware of. Now, just allowing that process to fully move down through every cell, every part of the body, Now, when you're ready, I want you to bring your awareness into the soles of your feet and allow the image or the sacred geometry that may be represented or facilitated on this piece of artwork or your own to emerge, to be placed onto the soles of your feet, encoding or instilling within you a new pathway, a new movement forward. Open up that stream of energy that opens you into a soul aligned path. Feeling the imprint of that geometry coming into the feet and just opening up that energetic expression of that pathway to be presented to you, giving yourself the opportunity to start to make movement forward. It may be opening a pathway that is less traveled, but it's unique to you. Allowing yourself to open up to that stream and to invite in any intuitive guidance that is relevant that will help you action and step firmly towards and on this pathway. Now, just taking a couple of deep breaths and slowly and gently giving yourself time and permission to start to come back. Hey, I'll pop that back up there and we'll start to dive into the intuitive insights that may accompany that process for you. And feel free to go back to that if you want to have continued working with that process, if that feels good to you. I'm just going to try and tune into that energy. This one feels different. It feels unique in its own way and own expression. I feel like I'm dealing with a very unique individual, someone who's quite centric in their own ways, but maybe that could be hidden. But that feels like that is the part of you that wants to come forward, is the uniqueness and potentially perceived um, aspects that are a little bit, yeah, eccentric, unique. I'm trying to think of some other words. It's like you're a complete class in your own. There's no one quite like you. And it's like you potentially have lived a life at times that has tried to conform to being other than what you're not. And now you're getting to a point in time where that's just not going to float anymore. It's like you can't conform or be conformed. You can't be who you're not. So it really is stepping into really a new, a new. Back that up. Let's start again. A new and unique way of expressing and being you outwardly, not just within yourself or close networks. It's like being the true self all the time, or at least pathing the way to that, and whatever that entails. I don't know why I'm still shuffling. That we've got a whole host of cards. So the first one that stands out, I'm not going to read them in any particular order, but the order that makes sense to me is we have the test of courage, the Five of Wands. This to me feels like the test of courage is looking up to order, authority figures, conventional ways, and like being the odd one out. And this is your rite of passage, your test of courage to give yourself permission to be the true you in that divine reflection. Because I feel like those that may represent authority figures or people who have the straight and narrow path of conventionality have a lot to learn from your unique expression. So there's no point in hiding who you truly are because the world needs that. It needs innovation, it needs a shake up, it needs out of the box thinking, out of the box expression. And it just feels like through that act of courage or test of courage of you just really embracing who you are, it feels like the people around you in what may be perceived as leadership roles, whether that's a boss, whether that's I don't know, a parent, um, have a lot to learn from and can really get on board in embracing that. Perhaps um, that might be contrary to what you have previously thought or believed, but it's like I feel like if there was ever a sign to like put your best foot forward and try it out, now would be that time. We have the Six of Cups. So it's a reflection card, looking back over the past. This to me looks like looking back over past events or timelines that have defined you that took you off course. It's like being able to go under the scrutiny of self examination to understand what influences or circumstances brought you to complying or being in some ways conforming. And it's like it almost feels like a reciprocal forgiveness process or an internal process of like forgiving the version of yourself or forgiving the other and closing down those timelines because you can't carry those impressions or traumas or experiences with you. You can, but from a very objective standpoint, not allowing it to impact who you are moving forward. So we have the Seven of Swords. So the ego and internal politics. And I almost feel like that's the version of you that was trying to, let's quote unquote, be normal, conform, be part of society or whatever it was that represented that. And I think as you start to almost be pulled up out of that and then start to move forward on this new path, realizing that a lot of the internal dialogue, conflict, politics, debates, self criticism, harshness was imposed by other or outside influences other than yourself. When you can embrace your true self and your true nature, less of like that stuff kind of dissolves away. And it's really about, yeah, giving you the creative license to be the full expression of yourself. In return, that creates this Seven of Coins, which is giving you unknown and new opportunities that will present. And this is, I love this because to me, it when I feel into it, it's like when you can feel something new and opening up and you don't know what it is, but it feels good. And it's like follow the feeling. You don't need to know all the details. You don't need to know all the answers just yet. You just need to follow your nose in the sense of the unraveling, the unfolding. And the more you follow that feeling and how it feels good, that opens up and expands into a whole new pathway. So that's when I know that you're on this new horizon. And yeah, once again, you don't need to know the full details. You just need to continually connect with that feeling. And that feeling will guide you and give you the instructions that you need at each point of the unraveling. But it does feel, yeah, let this be your sign. So, yeah, there's the pathway, there's the staircase, there's the illumination of the light, the new growth, and the orbs of light feel like they're beings or guides or aspects of your soul consciousness that's literally helping navigate this trajectory for you. For some, this may open up into new connections, soul romantic connections, because we have the lovers card that comes up here. And I almost feel like this is your rite of passage to, if this is what you've been looking for or searching for or wanting or just deep down desiring, it's like you being the true version of yourself is what brings that in. So it could be a new connection or rekindling an existing connection. However that's placed, it's like an up level of romantic inspiration or infused love relationship energy that comes into place or into harmonious balance because you being the authentic version of you kind of invites all of that in, which is beautiful. Ah, awesome. We've got, yeah, feel into the emotions, feel into the energy, the unknowing. We've got the lion energy there, the transformation of the butterfly. Almost feels, what is that? A snake? Interesting. Is that going in or coming out? I honestly, I don't know. These are new cards. That's really interesting. But that could be, you know, activation of the energy column as you start to feel into that energy. It can be leading or verging onto some sort of a energetic or kundalini activation. That's kind of what I get from that card as a possibility. But we have the wisdom of the solar plexus as well, the number 7 card here. This feels like integration into physicality and bringing non-physical element or aspect, bringing that in. It's almost like a walk-in or a soul upgrade as you start to like do those things. It opens up into a world of possibility. We have number 29, the precious present moment. That feels to me like that encapsulates the most important part of this energy that's opening up for you is to be really present with it. Don't rush it. Don't be impatient. Don't have a need to know of too much because I feel like everything is going to unravel in the perfect and most powerful moment for you. But again, beneath the surface of what's driving you, true motivations and breaking free really just ties back into being breaking free and being into the real you. I keep saying I'm not even using that deck right now, but I see it from a Magdalene Oracle, like the real you card. And that one, but yeah, taking a pause and just reevaluating. the most important or critical parts and the motivations. It almost, when I say that, it's like a writing or scribing, diary or journal entries, or yeah, taking notes. I'm gonna shuffle again because none of those cards feel relevant. I feel like you have a lot more mental space and capacity than a lot more bandwidth than what you may have done in previous years. To think in expanded ways, to think in creative ways. There's a real, yeah, breaking of that limitation. Ride the waves, life lessons and growth. You'll get through this. Just trying to look at what is really standing out to me in this card is like there's a silhouette. I don't know if you can see that. See how there's like that? There's like two arms, and it's like there's an overshadowing component. It feels like to me the breaking of the old and the new integrating and coming in, like the two versions of self. What I was talking about in that soul sort of walking upgrade feels like bringing that part of you back online. That's because I feel like the lessons and the growth and all that has come through to get you to this point. Like the hardships, I don't get any sort of sense of hardship in this phase right now. And then we have the waterfall, which is the inner power, unbridled confidence, and yeah, claiming your place. That's where it feels like it's at. So that kind of brings it back into full circle, working with that process of being able to purify what isn't of you so the true you can really come through and emerge. And that's going to open many, many exciting and expansive doorways. So I hope that that helps. I hope that sheds a light on what you may be moving through this month and beyond. If you want to connect with me, all the details will be in the description box below. And if not, I will see you next time. And just sending much love. Bye for now.